Picture this. It's January 1958. Eisenhower is in the White House. Elvis is dominating the radio, and America is gripped by recession. Car sales are plummeting across the board. Yet in this economic wasteland, one vehicle defies gravity, the redesigned Ford Thunderbird. The original two-seater Thunderbird had been a stunner from 1955 to 1957, outselling the Corvette by massive margins. But Ford's bean counters saw something bigger. They gambled everything on a radical redesign that would either revolutionize the American automobile or crash spectacularly. What happened next created an entirely new category of car and changed Detroit forever. This is the story of the 1958 to 1960 Ford Thunderbird, the Squarebird, and 13 facts about these cars that'll blow your mind. Some of this stuff, even die-hard T-Bird enthusiasts don't know. Let's dive in. Fact 1. It created an entirely new market segment. The 1958 Thunderbird didn't just compete in an existing category, it invented one. Ford called it the personal luxury car. This wasn't a sports car, wasn't a luxury sedan, wasn't a family cruiser. It was something uniquely American. A car that combined full-sized luxury features with a mid-sized platform, wrapped in styling that screamed individuality. Before the Squarebird, you either bought a practical family sedan or an impractical sports car. The Thunderbird split the difference brilliantly. It had 4 seats, so you could take the family. But the rear passengers sat low in sculpted individual seats that made the car feel exclusive. This formula proved so successful that virtually every other manufacturer eventually copied it. From the Buick Riviera to the Pontiac Grand Prix, the automotive press recognized this immediately. Motor Trend awarded the 1958 Thunderbird its Car of the Year award, making it the first individual model line, not an entire manufacturer, to receive this honor. Fact 2. Robert McNamara bet his career on 4 seats. Here's where it gets interesting. The man pushing hardest for the 4-seat redesign was Robert McNamara, who became Ford Division General Manager in January 1955. McNamara wasn't a car guy in the traditional sense. His expertise was finance. He was one of the famous whiz kids Henry Ford II brought in after World War II to modernize the company. McNamara looked at the 2-seat Thunderbird and saw a missed opportunity. Market research showed the car's sales were limited by its 2-seat configuration. Families couldn't use it as their primary vehicle. McNamara pushed for the redesign despite fierce internal resistance from engineers and purists who loved the original concept. This was a risky move. The 2-seater was selling well, and tampering with success could backfire spectacularly. But McNamara saw the profit potential in a 4-seater and championed the project when it had little political support within Ford. His instincts proved correct. The 4-seater would sell nearly 4 times as many units as the 2-seater over the same time frame. Interestingly, this same Robert McNamara would later become U.S. Secretary of Defense under Presidents Kennedy and Johnson, where he'd oversee America's involvement in the Vietnam War. Fact 3. It was Ford's first unibody construction. The 1958 Thunderbird, along with that year's Lincoln models, marked a revolutionary change in Ford engineering. These were the first Ford Motor Company vehicles designed with unibody construction, abandoning the traditional body-on-frame design. Unibody construction meant the body and frame were integrated into a single structure, making the car more rigid and allowing more efficient use of interior space. This was cutting-edge technology in 1958. The construction method allowed Ford engineers to create a car that was nearly a foot longer with accommodations for 4 passengers, yet only 1 inch taller than the previous 2-seater. The trade-off was weight. The unibody Thunderbird weighed approximately 800 pounds more than its predecessor, tipping the scales at nearly 4,000 pounds. But that rigidity translated into a quality feel that helped justify the car's premium price. Fact 4. Design came before engineering. Ford completely reversed its traditional development process with the Squarebird. Normally, new models started with product planning, then went to engineering for validation before stylists even touched it. This ensured the design stayed on package with practical constraints already defined. But the four-seat Thunderbird was different. Designer Bill Boyer's team had been working on the design since mid-1955, creating the styling entirely before engineering got involved. When engineers finally saw the design, they were horrified. There was no package specification, no predetermined mechanical constraints. This style-first approach was revolutionary for Detroit and set a precedent that would influence car design for decades. The engineers eventually made it work, but they weren't happy about having to adapt their systems to fit the designer's vision rather than the other way around. Fact 5. It debuted during the worst sales year in recent history. Talk about terrible timing. The 1958 Thunderbird launched in January 1958, right in the middle of a devastating recession. The 1958 model year was one of the worst sales years in recent automotive history. Car sales plummeted across the industry. Yet the Thunderbird defied this trend spectacularly. Despite losing 3 months of production due to delays and launching into economic catastrophe, Ford sold 37,892 Thunderbirds in 1958, more than double the previous year's sales. The Thunderbird was one of only 2 cars to show a sales increase that year. The other was the Rambler. By mid-March 1958, Ford was running heavy overtime at the Wixom plant trying to meet demand, with a backlog of 5,000 advance orders already on record. They hoped to produce about twice as many Thunderbirds in April as they had in February. The market had spoken, and it loved the Squarebird. Fact 6. Sales climbed every single year. Here's something that rarely happens in the auto industry. The second-generation Thunderbird's sales increased every year of its 3-year run. In 1958, Ford sold 37,892 units. In 1959, sales nearly doubled to 67,456 units. In 1960, sales peaked at 92,843 units. This steady climb is almost unheard of. Typically, a new model sees strong initial sales that taper off as the design ages, but the Squarebird kept gaining momentum. Over the 3-year production run, Ford sold approximately 198,000 units, 4 times the sales of the 3-year 2-seater model run. This sustained success vindicated McNamara's controversial decision and proved the personal luxury car concept had serious staying power in the American market. Fact 7. The convertible top borrowed retractable hardtop technology. The Thunderbird convertible had one of the most sophisticated tops in the business. It shared its convertible top retraction mechanism with the Ford Skyliner retractable hardtop convertible, which featured one of the most complex mechanical systems ever put in a production car. When the Thunderbird's soft top was stowed, the rear-hinged trunk lid was raised, so the forward edge of the trunk lid could serve as a metal boot cover. This hydraulically powered design was elegant but complicated. It reduced available trunk space considerably, though it eliminated the need for a separate vinyl or canvas cover. Unlike hardtop models that used a conventional key-secured, forward-hinged trunk design, the convertibles combined the trunk opening and closing functions within the convertible top operating system. This Skyliner-derived design could present serious challenges when troubleshooting a convertible top malfunction. Mechanics of the era learned to respect and sometimes dread working on these systems. Fact 8. It was absurdly low to the ground. The 1958 Thunderbird sat just 52.5 inches tall, nearly 9 inches shorter than an average American sedan of the period. More dramatically, it had only 5.8 inches of ground clearance. To put that in perspective, modern sports cars typically have 6 to 7 inches of ground clearance. This created a packaging challenge. To accommodate 4 adults in such a low car, Ford engineers had to drop passengers down low between relatively high door sills and a massive driveline tunnel. Designer Bill Boyer turned this liability into an asset by hiding the driveline tunnel inside an aircraft-style center console. A cliché today, but a fresh idea in 1958. The console ran the full length of the interior, separating front and rear passengers and housing switches, ashtrays, and minor controls. This design element became iconic and was widely imitated throughout the industry. Fact 9. Ford built 2 Thunderbirds in pure stainless steel. At the end of 1960, Ford constructed 2 Thunderbirds entirely from stainless steel for the Allegheny Ludlam Steel Corporation. These weren't display models. They were fully functional, drivable cars, built to showcase the decorative and practical uses of stainless steel in automotive applications. Each car cost $35,000 in 1960 dollars. That's equivalent to about $372,000 today. The body panels were made from Type 302 stainless steel, with trim pieces from Type 430 stainless steel. Because rolling mills could only produce stainless steel stock 72 inches wide at the time, both cars' roofs were constructed from 2 42-inch wide sections welded together in the middle. Here's the kicker. Because of stainless steel's properties, the production dies were destroyed during the stamping process. Ford wasn't concerned, since the next generation of T-Bird would use new body tooling anyway. Both cars received mechanical and interior restorations in the 1980s and survive to this day, with one on permanent display at the Heinz History Center in Pittsburgh. Fact 10. The 1959 model was marketed specifically to women. Ford took an unusual marketing approach with the 1959 Thunderbird. The advertising campaign targeted women in particular, featuring glamorous female models in country club settings, private airports, and other exclusive environments. This wasn't typical for the late 1950s automotive industry, which usually focused marketing on male buyers. But Ford recognized that women were increasingly influencing car buying decisions and had the purchasing power to buy premium vehicles themselves. The strategy worked brilliantly. The 1959 Thunderbird's sales figures bore out Ford's marketing plans, with units sold jumping from 37,892 in 1958 to 67,456 in 1959. For the first time, leather upholstery became available as an option, adding to the luxury appeal that resonated with the target demographic. Fact 11. Only 2,530 got the German sunroof. In 1960, Ford offered an elaborate sliding sunroof as a new option. The sunroof was produced by Golda Schiebedöcker, a German company whose sunroof patents Ford licensed. At $212.40, equivalent to about $2,200 today, it was an expensive option that added significant complexity to the car. These cars were referred to as Golda editions, or Goldbirds, by Ford personnel. Despite heavy promotion, only 2,530 examples were produced with the sunroof option. Today, one Thunderbird expert estimates only around 200 remain in show condition, making them extremely rare and collectible. The sunroof was canceled as an option for several years after 1960, partly due to its complexity and the challenges of installing it on the production line at Wixom. These sunroof-equipped Thunderbirds had their own special production line segment, where the sunroof mechanism and modified interior trim parts were installed before the cars returned to the main assembly line for final completion. Fact 12. The 430 cubic inch engine was a Lincoln transplant. While the standard engine was the 300 horsepower, 352 cubic inch FE V8, Ford offered an optional monster for buyers who wanted more power. In 1959 and 1960, you could order the 430 cubic inch MEL series V8, which was the same engine used in full-sized Lincoln models. This massive power plant produced 350 horsepower and provided significantly more torque than the standard engine. However, relatively few buyers checked this expensive option box. The 430 was available in small numbers, according to production records, with only 377 of the 2,536 sunroof-equipped 1960 Thunderbirds receiving the big Lincoln engine. Contemporary reviewers found the Thunderbird surprisingly quick for such a heavy car. With the standard 352 and Cruise-O-Matic transmission, 0 to 60 miles per hour took about 10.5 seconds. Top speed was perhaps 110 miles per hour, despite the optimistic 140 miles per hour speedometer. With the 430, performance improved noticeably, though exact figures were rarely documented. Fact 13. It was built alongside Lincoln at a brand new factory. The 1958 Thunderbird was manufactured at Ford's new Wixom, Michigan plant, which was designed specifically to assemble large unibody vehicles. The plant began initial operations on April 15, 1957, and the Thunderbird shared production lines with Lincoln models. This was prestigious company. By building Thunderbirds alongside Lincolns rather than with standard Ford models, Ford reinforced the T-Bird's position as a premium product. The association also made practical sense. Both cars used similar unibody construction techniques and required specialized assembly expertise. The Wixom facility was revolutionary in its own right. It was designed from the ground up to handle the challenges of unibody construction, with specialized welding equipment and assembly stations. Production didn't actually start on the 1958 Thunderbird until December 20, 1957, much later than the normal September start for model years. The 1957 Thunderbird was thus built for 3 extra months to cover the gap. The 1958 to 1960 Ford Thunderbird represents one of those rare moments when a single vehicle changes the entire automotive landscape. It created a new category that would dominate American luxury car sales for the next 3 decades. It proved that consumers would pay premium prices for smaller cars with distinctive styling and personality, and it showed Detroit that breaking the rules could pay off spectacularly. These Squarebirds aren't just collector cars. They're historical artifacts that document a pivotal moment in American industrial design and consumer culture. They bridge the gap between the chrome-laden excess of the 1950s and the more refined personal luxury cars of the 1960s and beyond. Now I want to hear from you. Did you or your family own one of these Squarebirds? What was your experience? Did you have the standard 352 or the monster 430? Was it a hardtop or one of those complex convertibles? Drop your stories in the comments below. The Thunderbird community is strong, and sharing these experiences helps preserve the history of these remarkable machines. If you found these facts surprising or learned something new about the Squarebird, hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel. We're diving deep into automotive history, uncovering the stories behind the cars that shaped America. There's so much more to explore, and I'd love to have you along for the ride. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, where we'll explore another chapter of automotive history that deserves to be remembered.